So welcome to the fall all college meeting. Hopefully this is our last one that's virtual, but I also felt like that last year too. So we will just kind of play this by ear as we go along. For those of you who have, I think I've met most of you in some kind of virtual format and some people in person. I'm Anne-Marie Cagno, I'm your dean, and I'm entering my second year, so it's really great to be here with all of you. I would like to start with a tribal land acknowledgement before turning it over to Father Tim Clancy for the invocation. In the spirit of the Jesuit practice of composition of place, we acknowledge that Gonzaga University resides on the ancestral homelands of the Spokane tribal people. And so as we welcome students and new colleagues to campus, I hope that we can remember that the land that we're walking on and the land that we're living and learning on is land that belongs to the Spokane tribal people. And as we think about our place here, that we continue to deepen our learning in terms of tribal sovereignty, the meaning of the land, and how we can stand in true solidarity with Native peoples here. So thank you. Okay. So Father Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Increase my volume. And then for those of you who, everyone is pretty skilled in Zoom at this point, but remember that you can use the viewer to turn it on speaker view if you want to focus on that, or you can do gallery. And also keep in mind that if you have children, pets, significant others, or any other kind of activity, that is welcome, and it's totally fine to have anybody else present with you during this time. And if you need to take a break or stand up or turn off your camera, you are certainly free to do that as well. So I want to make sure that people have the freedom to do that. All right, Father Tim, we're ready for you.
Okay. We buried Steve Cooter a week ago Monday. He'd been in and out of the hospital battling cancer all year, but it still came as a shock to all of us. He was on that kind of roller coaster of collapsing, recovering, recurring again. And so finally he wore out. Steve taught here in the religious studies department for 40 years. He served in many positions during those years, including chair of religious studies, including director of the honors program, including a trustee for most of those years, actually, and was actually the interim dean for the college during a year when the dean took a sabbatical. Steve asked me to preach at his funeral 10 years ago. We both have been going up to Schweitzer every Saturday during the ski season for the last 25 years. We had this sweet deal where we offered mass at 4:30 every Saturday evening, and Schweitzer gave us free passes for our trouble. Over all those years, we had heard each other preach a lot, and we stole from each other a lot. Steve always told stories to make his points. They were always short and to the point, and like Jesus's parables in the Gospels, they often involved kids. Steve was great with kids. In many ways, Steve was always a kid, at least at heart, sometimes in behavior. My homily at Steve's funeral centered on three of my favorite Cooter parables, but today I have a fourth one to briefly share with you. A young husband had lost his wife to cancer And so he decides to take their little daughter, their one daughter, on an ocean cruise to decompress after the funeral. And one evening, the two of them are walking on the deck, looking out over the sea. And the young girl turns to her dad and asks, "Daddy, where is mom now?" "Oh, honey, now she's with God." "But where's God?" The father extends his arm and points out beyond the bow of the ship over the sea off to the horizon. "Look out as far as you can. God is out there over the horizon." Then he turns her around and points back across the waters the ship had just sailed. "And now look back as far as you can. God is back there too." And then he points down over the railing to the waves immediately below them. "Look down into the water. God is down there below the depths of the sea." And then finally he points up to the sky. "And look up there in the sky. God is up there above the sky." The little girl turns to her dad with a smile spreading across her face. "Gee, Dad, here we are at the center of it all." Well, it's kind of been like that with COVID. It's as far as the eye can see in any direction you look. We know what to do, but we're weary of doing it. Tired, worn out, irritable, frustrated. I could go on. This fall, we're back in the classroom, and hopefully in a month or so, we'll have our bubble fully secure and the masks can come off. On campus, at least. In the meantime, as we peer off into the semester, may we do so in faith and hope and love for our dear students. Amen.
Thank you, Father Tim. I think you captured a lot of what we're all feeling, and thank you also for sharing another Father Steve parable. Much appreciated. So as we move through today, one of the traditions we have in the college is to welcome our new staff to the college and also celebrate milestone anniversaries. We have quite a few of them this year. And so I'm going to turn it over to Associate Dean Patricia Terry to kick us off with our new faculty and staff introductions. Patricia, it may just be me, but I can't hear you.
I'm so sorry, everybody. Not enough coffee yet. Good morning. We have several new faculty to introduce, and we'll do this by asking the department chairs to introduce them. So we'll start with the chair of the art department, Dr. Shalon Parker.
Morning, everyone. We have two people to introduce from the art department. First up is Lena Lopez Schindler. And Lena actually has been with us for a while as an adjunct instructor, but this year she'll be a lecturer. And Lena teaches painting, art appreciation, art history classes. She's got quite a range. She has a BFA in art and art history from University of Puget Sound and an MFA from the University of Montana. So welcome Lena as a lecturer. She's been with us for several years now.
Thank you, Shalon. And now we'll hear from Dr. David Boos, chair of the Department of Biology.
I think Shalon has one more to go.
Yeah, one more, sorry. Okay. The second
great this morning.
Second person introduced is actually our new art department technician, Chris Wagner, who we see there with his twin daughters, who I think are about 16 months old now. So Chris actually joins us from Santa Clara, where he was the instructional technician at Mission College there. He has a BA degree in sculpture and art history from Georgetown College and an MFA from Edinburgh University. And Chris himself also teaches furniture design and woodworking in the past, not necessarily here at GU, but he also has that experience. So welcome, Chris. And that's it. We're all done with art.
Very cool. Thank you, Shalon. David.
Good morning, everybody. Biology is happy to welcome a new lecturer and a new staff member to the department this fall. First, we're delighted to have back with us Dr. Brian Connolly. Brian was last here in 2007 when he graduated with a BS in biology. And since then, he's gone on to get a PhD in botany from Washington State University, complete a postdoc at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and hold a faculty position at Eastern Michigan University. He is a fantastic research mentor to undergrads, having worked with more than 20 students already so far in his career. And he's also an enthusiastic and creative teacher, and we are really glad to have him here teaching our 105 and 106 courses this year. Second, I want to introduce Dr. Rebecca Hare, who's our new laboratory coordinator. Rebecca's originally from Spokane and has not one, but 2 bachelor's degrees from Washington State University, one in microbiology with a focus in medical technology, and one in biology with a minor in history. So nice broad liberal arts background there. From there, she went on to the University of Alaska Fairbanks, where she got a PhD in biology. She's got over 10 years of experience coordinating and teaching microbiology-related lab courses, including at the University of Alaska, at Alaska's only tribal college, and most recently at Arizona Western College in Yuma. And so we're thrilled to have her here coordinating and teaching our key intro lab course. So those are the new folks in biology.
Welcome, and thank you, David. Next, we'll hear from the new chair of the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, Dr. Jeff Watson.
Hi, everybody. Very pleased to introduce Rosalind Rodriguez, who is a visiting assistant professor this year. She will be teaching our Chem 101 course, as well as inorganic chemistry. Rosalind did her bachelor's at State University of New York at Albany, and just recently got her PhD at UCLA in inorganic chemistry. As she told me, grad school took a big hit on her hobbies, but in high school and undergrad, she was very involved in dance, including choreography. She's a big TV and movie fan, loves to try new foods, and is very passionate about STEM outreach as well. So we're looking forward to her getting involved in that while she's here. So welcome, Rosalind.
Thanks, Jeff. Standing in for the new chair of the Department of Communication Studies, which is Dr. Heather Crandall, is the former chair, Jonathan Rossing, who will introduce 4 new faculty in that department.
Thank you, Patricia. Yes, Heather is, if you see Heather Crandall on campus, congratulate her and her daughter Merle, because she is helping her daughter move into campus today. So another new beginning for our department chair. So I am pleased to welcome and introduce 4 new lecturers for communication studies. Our large incoming class has meant a large number of COM 100 sections, and we are thrilled to have some new colleagues supporting our department. So first, Dr. Rebecca Donaway, who earned her PhD from the Washington State University in 2020, and will be joining us this fall as a lecturer. Rebecca is a political communications scholar, and so her knowledge and experience in that area is strong complement to our intersections in media, rhetoric, and cultural studies. And Rebecca is bringing teaching experience from Middle Tennessee State University and Washington State University, and most recently Whitworth University, where she was teaching in the last year. And we're thrilled to have Rebecca. So welcome, Rebecca. Next, we have Dr. Joseph Flores. Earned his PhD from the University of New Mexico in 2020, and also will be joining our department as a lecturer this fall and this year. So Joseph's research and teaching interests are at the intersection of political communication, so studying things like propaganda and especially more recently conspiracy theories, with a focus on the political economy of social media in US American politics. And he's also been very involved in mentorship work for first-gen students and Latinx undergrads and graduate students in recent years. So welcome, Joseph, to Gonzaga. Next, we have Dr. Kayla Keener, who earned her PhD from George Mason University in 2020, and will also be joining our department as a lecturer this year. Kayla's research and teaching interests also complement our work in the department, as she has taught classes such as Foundations of Communication, Media Theory, and LGBTQ issues in higher ed. Kayla's research considers how individuals perform various forms of value-producing and unwaged affective and emotional labor in digital spaces to bring communities together and support intersectional identities and livelihoods. So welcome, Kayla, to Gonzaga. And we also are welcoming Dr. Lars Stoltzfus who recently earned their PhD from the Pennsylvania State University this year in 2021. Lars' expertise is in mediated ethno-religiosities, communication and power, and queer trans media studies. Their teaching experience in gender studies, media studies, and human communication also strong complement to our work in media rhetoric and cultural studies in the department, and we are thrilled to have them joining us this fall as well. So once again, we're thrilled to have all these colleagues sharing their voice and experiences with us in the community, and we look forward to Kayla, Lars, Rebecca, and Joseph joining all the ongoing conversations in the department and college this year. Welcome, all of you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next, we'll hear from the chair of the Department of Modern Languages and Literature, Dr. Tina Isabelli.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Enrico Zamarchi, our new tenure track assistant professor in Italian to the Department of Modern Languages and Literature. He earned his interdisciplinary PhD in comparative studies from the Ohio State University with an MA in Italian studies. Enrico's research examines hip hop's different disciplines, including rap, DJing, breakdance, and graffiti, and their development across different regions in Italy. His work also examines the appropriation of hip hop culture by both anti-fascist and neo-fascist groups in Italy, as well as essays on youth subcultures in Italy and transnational conversations through a comparative analysis of songs on crime and criminals. This includes Italian canzoni di malavita, which are songs of organized crime in Italy, and Mexican narcocorridos, which are drug ballads. He researches this to show the transnational relevance of music in relation to political performance. Enrico's past experiences at Dickinson College and the Ohio State University have demonstrated teaching effectiveness and inclusive teaching. And my colleagues and the students in the Department of Modern Languages and Literature look forward to his continued interdisciplinary applications in all aspects of the Gonzaga community and Italian studies and the Italian language programs. Welcome to the department and the college, Enrico. We're thrilled to have you here with us.
Thanks, Tina. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Robert Spital, Chair of the Department of Music.
Morning, everyone. We have several new faculty in the music department this year, two of whom are full-time and here today. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Amy Porter, who will serve as Interim Director of Choirs and Vocal Studies this year. Amy isn't new to Gonzaga. She's been teaching voice here for several years, and you may recognize her. She's a very active soloist singer in the area with a variety of organizations, and she'll also be taking over a community/professional chorus here in Spokane called Spectrum Singers. You may be familiar with their work. But she studied voice in New York at the Mannes School of Music and has her doctorate in vocal performance from Louisiana State University, where she also studied choral conducting and learned to make what she claims is, quote, the meanest jambalaya in Spokane. And I believe that. In addition to supervising the choral and vocal programs, she will direct the concert choir and discantus choral ensemble. So welcome back, Amy. We're also very pleased to welcome Dr. Jadrian Tarver, who is a doctoral teaching fellow specializing in vocal studies and performance. So, and he's arriving with a freshly minted DMA, Doctor of Musical Arts degree from Michigan State University. And Dr. Tarver will lead the new Glee Club ensemble, teach applied voice, and instruct a first-year seminar course on social justice and music. Jadrian also claims to be a foodie and a bit of a master chef, so perhaps we'll get to enjoy some of their culinary talents as well as their musical talents. But we look forward to these young faculty joining us and contributing to our mission. Welcome, Jadrian and Amy.
Thank you, Bob. To introduce faculty new to the philosophy department is Dr. Eric Schmidt, department chair.
Hi, so we have two lecturers that I'm excited to introduce. The first, Joan Braun, may be a familiar face to you, to some of you. She taught at GU as a lecturer and as an adjunct from 2016 to 2020 in our department, and she was an adjunct in leadership studies this last spring. She received her PhD from the University of Kentucky in 2013, and she specializes in the Frankfurt School and critical hate studies. And her recent work uses the work of Erich Fromm to think critically about recent fascist movements and hate groups, especially here in the Spokane area. So she's been quite active on that. Next, we have Nader Shayobi. Nader comes to us most recently from the University of Indianapolis. He received his PhD from the University of Illinois at Chicago in 2019, and he completed his undergraduate work at UC Berkeley. He also comes to us with a BS in chemical engineering from the Islamic Azad University in Tehran. His specialty involves exploring the nature and sources of the normative force of logic. So we're very excited about the role both Joan and Nader will play with us on campus.
Thanks, Eric. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Eric Aver, chair of the physics department.
Good morning, everyone. We are very excited to welcome Laura Stevens, the new physics lab specialist in our department. Laura comes to us via College of Charleston, where she earned her bachelor's degree, and she just finished her master's at the University of Montana. She's already very hard at work at creating new, exciting lab experiments, and we're just really thrilled to have her here. So thank you all.
Thanks, Eric. For the political science department, we'll hear from Dr. Stacy Taninchev, chair.
Thanks, Patricia. I am so excited to welcome Dr. Sham Sriram to our department as a lecturer in American politics. Sham comes to us from Butler University, where he was a visiting assistant professor, but he also joins us with 18 years of higher education teaching experience. And he's an alumnus of Purdue University, Georgia State University, where he got his first master's, and then the University of California at Santa Barbara, where he received a second MA in 2017 and his PhD in political science in 2018. His areas of expertise are refugee resettlement, which he wrote his dissertation on, Asian American politics, religion and politics, and voting behavior in elections. And this semester, he's going to be teaching a course on refugee resettlement in the United States. So we're really excited about that. He's already expressed his excitement about teaching and mentoring students and a great enthusiasm for the Jesuit mission. So please join me in giving Sham a warm welcome.
Great, thanks, Stacy. Finally, we have two new faculty in the Department of Sociology and Criminology. I'm wondering if Nagme Morlock, the new co-chair of the department, is present this morning. Well, let me get started then with introducing Dr. Andrea Brower, who is there, as you can see, with a new baby. And she's not new to Gonzaga. She has been teaching courses at GU since 2017. Andrea got her PhD in sociology from the University of Auckland in 2017. Andrea, we're so happy that you're able to join us for the academic year. And next, we have Dr. Esther Matthews. Tara, thank you. So Esther got her PhD in justice, law, and criminology from American University in Washington, DC, where she has been teaching as an adjunct professor. We're so happy that you are with us, Esther. We've been waiting for you for a long time. So welcome both of you to the Department of Sociology and Criminology. To all the department chairs, thank you. Your introductions were beautiful. To all the new faculty, we're so glad you're here. And to everyone else, please give these folks a friendly hello when you see them. Thank you.
In addition to our full-time faculty, we have a number of new adjuncts across the college. And you might be wondering, why are we hiring so much in both full-time and adjuncts? And it's a number of different factors. Earlier, Jonathan mentioned the large incoming class. We now have the second largest incoming class in our history that's moving in today. And then we also had a number of retirements and resignations of people who, some of it was pandemic epiphanies of, why am I spending my time this way? I want to spend it other ways. Some of you may have thought of that, but please, I don't want you to go just yet. We need you here. But the reality is, and this is across the country, people were thinking about, maybe people thinking about retiring and it just accelerated their plans, or other factors that just came into the presence of mind because of the pandemic. So welcome also to all of these wonderful new adjuncts. We're really excited to have you here teaching our students. We hope that you find support in your departments and in the college to be successful. So thank you all. I'm now going to turn it over to Associate Dean Matt Barr, who is going to help us. Oh, wait, I'm going to do the first one. Then I'll turn it over to Matt. So we are celebrating a number of anniversaries this year. And the biggest anniversary is for Blaine Garvin in political science, who is celebrating his 50th year at Gonzaga. And I don't know if this is going to work. I'm borrowing from Tim Westerhouse last year, so I don't know if you can hear that. Congratulations, Blaine. Glad to have you here. And feel free to use the chat to send your congratulations as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Matt Barr.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I was having a little trouble with my AirPods here. Can you hear me okay? Great. All right, we're going to move to anniversaries that seem to pale in comparison to 50 years. Nonetheless, very important. So 35 years, Brian Clayton and Tom Janot in philosophy and Colleen McMahon in integrated media. I don't have the Tim Westerhouse technological capabilities, but congratulations to all of you. At 30 years, we have Michael Tkach in philosophy. 25 years, Jeff Bierman and Al Greer in physics. I probably shouldn't say this, but oh boy, it still sticks with me. 50 years of experience between two physicists, and that's the worst grade of my college transcript. I'll talk to you both sometime about that. And then we have 20 years, a great group, Modern Languages and Literature, Diane Virginal, Jeff Kronk and Jeff Hazen in chemistry, Keith Herrick in English, and Shannon Overbay in math. Congratulations. We call that 2 decades. At 15 years, Jennifer Akins in Modern Languages and Literature, Monica Bartlett in Psychology, Andrea Bertotti-Matoyer in Sociology and Criminology, and then in Biology, Amanda Braley, Brian Cooney in English, Luis Garcia Torvisco in Modern Languages and Literature, and Jeff Miller in English. Congratulations on a decade and a half. Continuing with a decade and a half, Eric Ross in Chemistry, Jenny Savage in Modern Languages and Literature, John Shevland in Religious Studies, Brooke Swanson in Biology, and Jeff Watson in Chemistry. Congratulations. And now we drop down to the decade. Blaine, you've been here 5 times longer. Joe Gardner in Political Science, Greg Gordon in Environmental Studies, and Ute Pers in Modern Languages and Literature. And at 5 years, Melody Alsecker in Math, Christy Andrade in Biology, Matt Bolton in English, Melissa Click in Communication Studies, Tomas Guardia Artega in Math, and Maria Howard in Philosophy. Continuing with the half-decade honors, Yuki Kang in English, Neralis Rodriguez-Cos in Women's and Gender Studies, Jonathan Rossing in Communication Studies, Brian Siebeking in Religious Studies, Adam Stivers in Psychology, and Kevin Vandershell in Religious Studies. That makes me feel old, how the years slip by. Congratulations to everyone. It's really a privilege to be your colleague, whether you've been here 5 years or 50 years. And I love this tradition of marking time. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt, and congratulations to everyone. And be sure to check in the chat because your colleagues are congratulating you, even though we can't hear everybody's claps. So heartfelt congratulations to you all. So I have a little bit of time, and I just want to mention that in the email for this meeting, I sent a link to a video that Tara is going to pop in the chat, just in case you didn't see it. I think maybe about half of you clicked on it, and that 15 minutes is my address. And I didn't want to spend time just kind of talking at you on a screen, so that we have a chance for questions and answers. But take a look at that video if you haven't looked at it yet, because I provide a little bit of information about the survey that you completed about me and my leadership in the spring, and some things that I reflected on and learned about, and the ways I'm going to take that forward into the future. So I don't want to recap all of that here because you can watch it on that video. But I did want to leave some time for us to ask questions. Well, for you to ask questions of me. I'm not going to ask questions of you. And then when we finish up with that, we are going to move into small group meet and greets. We're going to use the breakout room function. And I want to just preface that by saying, I know that some people have Zoom fatigue, and other people are introverts and don't enjoy breakout rooms, and that the breakout room portion is completely optional. So it's a way to connect with colleagues if you'd like, but if you feel like you need to leave for whatever reason at that point, that's fine too. So I just want to say that up front, that it's not like we're going to take attendance in the breakout sessions or anything like that, that's just a way for you to connect. But one of the things that I am going to be taking through this year is trying to integrate Ignatian discernment into the kinds of decisions that we make collectively and individually. And so the breakout session is kind of that first step of thinking about the kinds of things that bring you joy in your work, the kinds of things that don't bring you joy in your work, and what does that mean for this year for you? Are there certain things you want to shed, or maybe try something new? So that's going to be the focus of the breakout sessions, just get us started thinking about how we can apply that Jesuit principle of discernment to our work. So I'll just stop there, and please feel free to use the chat if you want to put in a question there for me, or if you'd like to raise your hand, you can raise your hand with the raise hand function. If you raise your physical hand, I may not see it because there's now 10 pages of people. And so I would have to scroll through. So please use the reactions button to raise your hand so I can see it more clearly. So I'll be quiet. John Shevland.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Thanks so much. Good morning. I'm one of those other half who didn't listen yet to your message. I plan to do that, so thank you very much. And I apologize if this is addressed in your message, but I was wondering if you might discuss the travel policy a little bit more. I know you went into a lot of discernment. You had a lot of input from the faculty. You sought out a lot of input from us about that. But it sounds like it's been reduced to $1,000 per year. And for those of us who are already working hard to make $1,200 work, I wonder if you might just help us to understand the process there. And if the college funds are simply what they are, what do you recommend for folks who are still trying to be pretty darn productive with that aspect of their work? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for that question, John. And just to give a little bit of background, so and this is for the new people, the college has professional development / travel funds set aside for full-time faculty. And traditionally it was just full-time faculty and not staff. Now it's open to staff as well. Last year, because there was not much travel, and in fact, most conferences were virtual, we converted that funds for last year to be a bit more flexible for people to use it for professional development in any way. And we reduced it at that point down to $750 because we knew more people would be using it. And then this year we bounced it back to $1,000, but you're right, it didn't come back to the $1,200 for faculty that it used to be. And that's a number of different reasons. One is the over the summer, I had to cut the budget a little bit. I was asked to cut it by, I forget which percentage, but it ended up being $378,000 that I was asked to cut the budget. I already told the department chairs about this, but I went back to the provost office and said, there's no way we can cut it 378 and still preserve our student-centered mission. Faculty need access to money. And so I cut it maybe 1/10 of what they wanted, and was not actually sure if that would fly, but it did. So I had to cut the budget. Thankfully, it wasn't as much, and my rationale was accepted. But it still means that we need to be careful about our money and reduce what we have across the board for different activities, including travel. And I know that $1,000 from my own travel doesn't cover things. So it's a budget crunch issue. However, it's the kind of thing where Jean Duenas and I are monitoring it throughout the year so that if it looks like there is additional funds, we can perhaps look at ways to expand coverage. So this year, we're already noticing that quite a number of the conferences that people are attending are virtual or hybrid. And so people are asking for less money than before. So I had a few this week where it was like $200 or $40 because they're virtual. That will probably have some good implications for us in terms of being able to expand some of the funds this year, but I have to watch that on a month-by-month basis. So you'll probably be hearing more from me later in the semester, and hopefully it will be good news around that And it looks like you're not the only one with that question. So that was a good question. I'm looking at the chat to see. Brian Henning has a recommendation. Let's always please call it scholarship travel funds, not travel funds. What is at stake is scholarship. In many fields, sharing research through conferencing is the start of the scholarly process that results in publication. Yeah, so we can certainly look at what we call it in the future. Stacy.
Just a quick follow-up. So are you saying that if towards the end of the budget year, there is extra funding in the travel scholars, I forgot what term we're supposed to use now, but the travel funds, that we could submit like the amount we spent over the 1,000 to possibly get reimbursed for that?
Well, there's a couple options, right? So one option is that you're mentioning. Another one is to expand the use of the funds for other professional development work that would support scholarship, because first, in some fields, it's not always presenting at a conference. But that's why when I emailed you, I don't know when that was, in the spring, saying, here's the results of the survey of using Cura Personalis professional development funds. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. There are a number of questions that came up, like these questions about the amount of funding, the purpose of the funding, the types of activities that would be supported with the funding. And I requested a group of people who wanted to be involved in making that decision with me, so that it's not just one person, but I'm listening to different disciplines also, knowing that there are different needs. And so a few of you have put your names in, said, yes, I want to be part of that discussion. And so we'll be meeting soon to talk about this before we have to make that decision about what are all the factors that we should take into account in terms of scholarship travel, editing support, and other kinds of activities that people used the money for last year that still helped them promote their scholarship and bring things into the classroom, but maybe weren't the traditional definition of travel. So we'll be meeting soon to talk about that and be able to make a decision that can support all of you in your work. Okay, there's a lot of activity in the okay, are we still in a budget crunch if we ended up in a small surplus? That's a good question. Something that I'll bring to the Council of Deans, because we are technically in a 3-year recovery plan to kind of work our way out of this. And so I would like, one of my questions after hearing about our small budget surplus is this something that's sustainable? How does this impact each of our division budgets? So I will have to find out more information about, is this a temporary budget crunch? Is this something, was it a blip? You know, what was that about? And yes, from Karen Petruska, please consider what the process will look like if there is extra money. And that's something that's going to be part of that small group or small committee work to talk about that as well. Ted DeMaria asks if large lectures by outside speakers will be permitted. My take on yesterday's response is that they will likely be permitted, but that we're watching how things play out. So currently we can invite people here, but there's certain restrictions about how many people from outside can come here, what they need to produce to be able to attend. And so as that works out, I hope that we have a closer answer for you, or even a date to say, by this date, we can do these kinds of bigger events. And large lecture, I think we're going to have to define in terms of how many people is large, because in one department 50 is large and another one 200 is large. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you about that either, but I think it's coming. It's just, we need a little bit more guidance. Let's see, Heather Easterling, seems like there's a need for a fuller review of how scholarship travel funds are working, can work, should work, especially in the face of budget crunches and needs across the college. Yes. And so I'm hoping that that conversation with the volunteers who agreed to talk about that will help us on our way. Vesta, okay, there's some COVID questions. So I'm gonna pause there and just see if there's any other, because I expected COVID questions, but let me see if there's other questions before I tackle some of those. A lot of agreement about advocating for an increase in adjunct faculty pay. That's something that I can also bring to the Council of Deans because that's something that's set at a different office. But I agree, there's quite a bit of, if you look at the adjunctification of higher ed, that's a problem. I'll just stop there. That's a problem. Okay, well, let me jump into some of these COVID questions. Let's see, so Vesta Sufal in math said that there should be a plan in the syllabus for how we'll handle students missing class due to COVID-related issues. I believe that's true. Miriam Poxleitner, I believe, shared that at the Fall Faculty Conference yesterday. And I believe that it's in the PRTF document that guidance is provided, and Tara will drop a link to the instruction guidance.
I think it's coming based on what Mia is saying. It looks like it is in the addendum that's being sent out later today. And I see Marianne nodding. So we don't have it yet, but it is coming.
Okay, thank you. So be on the lookout. More information coming soon about that. Oh, if I just scroll down, I would have seen that. Thank you. Okay. And then I'm also learning, Greg Gordon from Environmental Studies and Sciences. Would you like to introduce your lecture? It looks like we might have missed somebody, and I sincerely apologize about that.
Sure. We are delighted to have Ulil Amiri joining us. Ulil started here a couple years ago as a faculty fellow postdoc from University of Washington, where he received his PhD. Ulil hails from Indonesia, and he brings much needed international dimension to our program. He will be teaching eco-spirituality with us in religious studies, and his background is in political ecology. Again, we're really excited to have Ulil join us as a lecturer for the year.
Thank you. Welcome, Ulil. Well, welcome to your continuing work here. Okay. So for staff, I want to remind our staff and also educate our new staff that we have Cura Personalis time for you, where and Cura Personalis is a Latin term that's used in Jesuit education, means care for the whole person. And for staff, because for faculty, you have a bit more flexibility around your time and staff do not. It's a way for staff to be able to set aside some time to do some professional development work that they would not normally be able to do. And so that's something to discuss with your supervisor. And then staff also have access to that same scholarship travel fund. The way it is set up right now is to use the funds to be able to participate significantly at a conference. And so that means presenting at a conference, or if you're a co-chair of a subcommittee of a conference, engaging in that work. So staff can also tap into the same fund, which is really an equity issue that we really allow staff and our faculty access to these kinds of professional development opportunities. Sham asks, if we are organizing an event, whom do we have to notify about the vaccine status of visitors or guests?
Anne-Marie, I am dropping a couple of different links in the chat. One is to the campus visitor guidelines that is internal, and one is to the campus visitor guidelines that is external on the website. You do not have to report people's vaccination status back to a central office. When you are having an event with external people visiting campus, there is a link on the campus visitor guidelines site to a digital self-certification form that they need to fill out before they come to campus. You'll get an email as the host that they have done so. And then the idea is that when they check in for the event, they would just need to show proof of vaccination. I will clarify here that the idea for showing proof of vaccination was to be unmasked on campus, and therefore use your discretion is what I will say. But it does ask on the self-attestation form, and if anyone should ask you, why does it say this, and I still have to wear a mask, at this point, you can simply point to the governor's mandate. Does that clear it up?
Yes.
Okay.
But let me ask one follow-up then, is that, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
What if my guest has a medical exemption?
Then they simply answer no. They're not going to be told they can't come on campus. What it means is that when we get into post-mask on campus, which who knows when that may be, it would just be, the requirement was if you're unvaccinated, you have to be masked, just like it is for our employees and our students who may have exemptions for reasons and they can't be vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm inviting someone who is an Afghanistan war amputee for an event, and he's been told that he can't take one of the vaccines because of blood clots.
It's simply, he just has to wear a mask on campus. That's as simple as it is. And he'll just answer no on the form, and that doesn't, answering no on the form doesn't not clear him. And that's true for everyone.
Thank you.
And if you haven't noticed, Tara is our resident COVID-19 expert in the office. And she's also been in charge of, or very heavily involved in the student vaccine clinics. So she's a really great resource. Of course, always check in the guides that she's sending first before reaching out to her. Some other questions in the chat having to do with classroom training and recording. So it is true, you are not required to record your classes. That is at your discretion. In terms of recording, the best way to do that is to use Zoom and to consult with IDD and perhaps have a Zagnician come on the first day of class, or even test out if you have time beforehand, which I know it's getting a little short, visit the room and see what kinds of equipment are there. But I do know that some instructors are using Zoom on their computer to record, knowing also that it might not be as high quality as when it was just you and the computer and not also a whole classroom. So contact IDD. There are the Zagnicians, which was also in Morning Mail, and you are not required to do so. Just, it's safe for you to be able to put in your syllabus what you will do to accommodate students, because you will get questions. So why not preemptively address it in your syllabus? And I don't know if Marianne or Mia would like to add anything to those kinds of questions about recording for students who miss class because of COVID.
I would just encourage everyone to please check the IDD CTA Blackboard support sites for videos and detailed instructions on how to set up recurring Zoom sections, how to set up the cameras, and how to execute recordings that will automatically be saved so that you can access them later. Mia, I'll let you add maybe information on where exactly that information is located.
Thanks, Marianne. The other thing I will say, and then I'll mention what you just asked, is that there are really good instructions available if you just Google through our website, Zoom Help, and you can find a lot of information there. But on the All Campus Teaching Support Fall 2021 website, if you go to Teaching Remotely, there's a lot of guides that have been created, both words and also video and audio recordings from colleagues who've tested this machinery out in the, or this technology out in the classroom and have shared their advice with you. The other thing is talk to a colleague who taught in person last year and drag them to a classroom with you and say, can you just show me how to do this? It's not that hard. I know it's a little intimidating the first time you walk in. Once you do it, just set it up so it automatically happens every time. And then you have that option of using it or not. That would be my recommendation. And again, as Anne Marie said, no one's required to do this. It's just one of the ways that we can provide some support for students who find themselves in quarantine or isolation and cannot physically come to class, potentially for 10 days. So that's just a suggestion.
And there's lots of good suggestions in the chat too. So I advise you to take a look at that if you have questions, or if you just need a little reassurance, because there's people who have used the classroom technology and are saying it's, takes a little practice, but it's not too complicated. And yeah, I want to reiterate, like, we want to be flexible with students, but faculty still have discretion. You still have, what you decide to do is up to you. Just communicate that clearly to your students so that they also understand what the expectations are and what they are required to do. Let's see, Patricia.
I don't want to interrupt the COVID questions and answers, but looping back, there are two more lecturers who are continuing or new this year in the Department of Theater and Dance that who were not listed on this in the slideshow. So I want to take a moment to mention them. Jad Davis has a recent MFA in directing from the University of Montana, Missoula, and is former artistic director at the Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater. He's a professional actor, director, and casting director for many years in the Pacific Northwest. And then continuing with us this year is Anshu Bhatia, who is a production manager and does design for the Department of Theater and Dance, and worked very hard last year to support the department in several ways. I'm so happy that we have Anshu returning with us, and sticking with us. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. You can see we have also been caught off guard in the college with all the changes, and we're trying to keep up as best we can. So apologies for not including everybody in the original welcome, but we are so glad that you're here with us. Okay, what other questions do we have? I don't know if there's still more COVID related questions or other kinds of questions about vision of where we're headed in the college. Well, okay. One thing I want to mention also is one of the comments that came up in my in the survey for the work that I did over the last year. Some people said, we haven't met Anne Marie, we don't know what she's about, and there, a few questions like that. So I hope that this year, there's a bit more of in-person meetings. I was able over the summer to tour the Hughes Hall laboratories, and that was great to meet students and faculty that I'd only seen on Zoom. It was great to see some of you yesterday at the Fall Faculty Conference, and I expect to be doing more of that and visiting departments. So there will be an opportunity for us to meet in smaller groups. I'm going to continue the virtual coffee hours and hopefully turn them into like in-person coffee hours with the dean this year. So that's another way that you can meet with colleagues and with me in an informal setting and get to know, ask me questions or just get to know me. We started a blog over the summer to as another way to reach both people in the college, including our students, and then also friends of the university to let them know about the work that all of you are doing that's just outstanding. And so that is called Contemplating the College. And Tara will soon put the link for that blog in the chat. And then I'm also going to do office hours this year because not everybody wants to be able, they don't want maybe the group discussion, but they want a one-on-one discussion. And some people feel a little, it might be weird to reach out to the dean and set up a meeting, but so this is another way to make it possible for you to meet with me for a small chunk of time and talk with me about something that might be important to you. So all of those opportunities will be coming up in the future. And then our work and ideas in action, which stands for inclusion, diversity, and equity in the arts and sciences. That's ideas. In action will continue this fall. You can get a couple little updates from some of our team leaders if you go to the website that Tara just plopped in the chat. And that David Boos gives an update on the Equity-Minded Teaching Collab that he's running with Mia Bertinoli. And then Leslie Stamoulis is talking about our Equity Advocates work for hiring committees. So you can get a sense of what's happening there, but we're going to be welcoming more participation from you if that's something that you're interested in joining in this year. So that's another thing that you might be able to do. I'm looking at the time, so just trying to be a little mindful of that. Patricia is letting me know. So, one of the questions that came up perhaps after the Fall Faculty Conference yesterday was the difficulty that some people have in being able to project their voice through a mask if you're teaching through a mask. As someone who does not have a voice that projects, I totally get that. The college purchased as a test 10 portable speakers with a headset microphone that you can wear. The microphone does not go in the mask. The microphone picks up your voice close to the mask. They work pretty well. They cost $35, so it's not very expensive, but we cannot afford to buy 250 or 300 of these for each one of our instructors. So I purchased 10 from a supply budget for us to be able to try. If you are interested in testing that out for your own purposes, please let us know. And yes, we can share the model in the chat. It might take a little bit of time for Tara to find the link to that. Oh, no, not at all. That's how good Tara is. So she just put a link to the ones that we purchased. So again, we have 10, so I know it's not that many, but if you wanted to come and try that out and see what it's like before you purchase one for yourself, that's fine. The other caveat is that I also can't reimburse 35 times 300 of these. So that would be a personal expense for you. The 10 that we have in the college, we're hoping that we can find a way to kind of rent them out for people. But we have to work out a disinfectant routine or something like that. So we're trying to support you with that. And we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully we can all help each other with that. Is the university providing clear masks, and do they work? So I can't speak to whether they work or how comfortable they are, but Plant Services does have clear masks. And perhaps Tara can, I think, work with your department chair and program assistant to determine how to get those. Is that right, Tara?
It is. Your program assistant can order them. I will note that what I was told is 2 weeks ago, they had a limited supply of transparent masks. They are disposable. They come in packs of 24, but your program assistant can order them, and they are considered part of the PPE that the university is providing. So it's at no cost to the department.
Thank you.
And then Forrest, the $350 for professional development that you're talking about, that is in all of the tenure track contracts. And so you have, if you have that in your contract that you signed for employment at Gonzaga, that has not gone away because that's part of your contract. So you would have the 350 plus the 1,000 when within the college. Okay. So if you're like me, I feel like I'm buying different kinds of face masks to find the perfect one, and I still haven't found one for myself. And so this might be part of our, this is the world we live in, is trying to find the thing that works for the particular situation that we're in. So let's see, Jeff Dodd, wearable mics might solve the issue of that, but students' voices will not uniformly be audible. True. And as someone who, I have a mild hearing impairment and I wear hearing aids, I can tell you, for instance, at the fall faculty conference, that was difficult for me when there was everybody in the hallway talking and I was trying to listen to somebody wearing a mask. So I totally get that. That is difficult. Some other things you might want to experiment with. If you have an Android phone, I discovered there's an well, you can't really see me holding my phone up, but it's there. There's an accessibility app that's free. You just have to activate it. It's called Sound Amplifier. And so if you wear Bluetooth headphones or earbuds, you can use this Sound Amplifier app and it will effectively, it almost works like hearing aids, but it will amplify the sounds of everything in the room. And I've tried that out. It worked pretty well. iPhones have something similar. I just don't know what it's called because I'm not an iPhone user. If you have a profound hearing impairment, it may not work effectively, and there may be some other creative things to try or adaptations. So, but you might, I mean, this is the kind of thing to experiment with as we work our way through the year. So it's not ideal, but I'm also excited that we're going to be together. And I think the students are really excited. As Thane mentioned yesterday, they, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but last year, the COVID non-compliance complaints I got were not from faculty complaining about their students. It was students complaining about their faculty not wearing masks or not following the rules. So, I mean, they're serious. They want to be able to be together. They want to be in person. And so, just something to keep in mind.
Anne-Marie, there was a question in the chat that I want to provide some clarification on. It was about the face shields that were distributed last year. Those do not count as masks or face coverings under either the university or the state mask mandates. The face shields are not airtight on your face, and therefore they are not considered. If you wanted to wear a face shield because you felt more comfortable, you would have to wear a face mask under it.
Thank you. And you're right. So hearing aids are not reimbursable. That's true at a lot of higher ed institutions. They're not a reimbursable expense. And I can't even go into what the reasons are. So, all right. So if you have further questions about anything, and it could be the travel fund, it could be restrictions in place, or how we are adapting to the state mandate and how that goes with our the university rules and all of that, please let us know. We're here to help you. I hope that I will be able to meet all of you at some point this semester in person. I think that will be enlivening for me as I kind of hint at what we're going to be doing next. So, you know, we will be sending a monthly newsletter. There will be some other ways for you to keep apprised of what's going on in the college and at the university, and many opportunities to get involved in decision-making in the college, because that was part of my address, is that, you know, I have this vision for what we could be together, but how we do that and the activities we engage in really needs to also come from you, not from me saying, here are the specific things we're going to do. And that is, you know, the fruit of ideas in action is really from that way of working in the college. And that has been so life-giving to see the different kinds of projects and progress we're going to be making. Next is accountability, to make sure that we actually do the things that we say we're going to do. So in this next part, the next 20 minutes, well, actually next 15 minutes, we're going to break out into small groups, and there's several things I'd like you to do if you decide that this is something that you want to stay on for. And so introduce yourself. You might meet a new colleague, and, you know, what do you do at Gonzaga? And then possible discussion questions, which are really building on this discernment process. So, you know, thinking about this semester, what enlivens you, what's depleting you, and what are some things you'd like to learn more or do, or maybe even what are some things you'd like to shed this year, because that's also part of the question. Tara put the questions in the chat so that when you go to your small groups, you have them in front of you. And then for the last 5 minutes or 3 minutes, we'll gather back as a large group for a send-off. I think you'll be able to see what's already been put in the chat, but you won't be able to see new chat in the breakout groups. Okay, Tara's sending you to your groups. Hey, Alejandro.
Hi, Anne-Marie, how are you?
Good. Welcome back, welcome back. All right, we have quite a few people that decided to stick with it with the breakout sessions. That's great. So I don't want to keep you too much more, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today, for listening to me, for celebrating your colleagues, and for talking about, you know, what you hope for in this coming year. And hopefully you met some new people. And yeah, so we're in this together. I'm excited for all of us. I think this is going to be a great year, and it will have some trials, but we will get through them together. And I'm so grateful that I am grateful that we're in it together. Tara put the address back in the chat in case it got lost before, if you want to click on that to save it for later. And I hope that we get to meet again soon. Many best wishes on your last weekend of freedom, and a great success with students next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye, all.